All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So my name is Will Chu. I work for Prince William County as an arborist. And this class is the container gardening and native plants by Nancy Berlin. And so you heard her wonderful story for the presentation in the main hall room, so we'll go ahead and repeat some of these things. After 17 years before I entered the Prince William National Garden Program, Nancy established a native plant scientist, gentle landscaping, and has helped clients in Fairfax, Lapeer, Pennsylvania, and Prince William to add native plants to the landscape. She studied at Gene Tech Graduate Studies in Natural Resources, certified horticulturalist, and certified nutrient planner. Now, level 2, Chesapeake Bay landscape professional, veterinarian, designer. She is a frequent speaker for community groups and is a lifelong native of Northern Virginia. Please welcome.
Yeah.
Well, spring is coming and container gardening is hot, isn't it? It particularly, I had a health incident last spring and I bought a whole bunch of containers because I thought I was gonna go crazy, not being able to get out in the yard. So it had, I learned a lot. Let me just say that. So we're going to define a native plant first. Different people define it different ways, but for my presentation, I'm selecting plants with the exception of a couple that are native to Northern Virginia. So the Plant Nova Natives would be a good resource, the Digital Atlas of Virginia, that we talked about already, and Ursanga, Plant Nova Natives, all those websites can be helpful. I'm gonna mention things about cultivars, my preferences straight species also. However, cultivars are not all that predictable, and there's some really good information on some current research that's ever building. You need to purchase the plants by Latin names, so I'm using Latin names. Don't let that put you off. Don't let anybody put you down for saying the Latin name a certain way, because it's an unspoken language. Okay, so you can say it whatever way you want, but we need to make sure that we're buying the right plant, and so that's why I'm using that. Easier, because it means way overused. And they are always changing those binomials, okay? However, I can never remember what word I need to say next, or what I need when I walk into the room, so there's a lot of grace here is what I'm saying, when it comes to Latin names. So if you need to remember something, you can take some pictures, because I put the Latin names on all the slides. So I'm gonna assume that we want to container garden ecologically, just like we would want to put in a pollinator garden or restore a landscape to native vegetation. I'm going to assume that with a container garden, we want to do the same thing. So we want to know about bloom time and what it attracts and what we can expect to see on our patio. So when I have a client, I always include a bloom table at the as part of my report, so that they can see what color, what month, what it attracts. And so that resource goes with the design as well as a maintenance schedule. So this one is Plant Nova Natives. It's a little small to see, but you can see a closer look by going to Plant Nova Natives. And I think it's nice, nice and organized. So, and you can put one of these together easy with an Excel spreadsheet yourself.
Nancy,
Yes.
can you share your screen? We don't see your screen on Zoom.
That's not good. We're working on it. Thank you for saying that. All the people at home. Okay, I'm getting on. This is the Penn State version, okay? So they looked at some cultivars too, but and let's see, Zagreb, the Coreopsis verticillata. So they were counting how many visitors to each. But they are, and the date of emergence of the flower, and so theirs is a little different. And so, but I would encourage you to pick your plants for your container. And then make some kind of chart so you can see if plants are indeed being used. Is that working out? Great, thank you. So glad you're here. So a little bit about nativars, cultivars, straight species. When in doubt, again, choose a straight species, and here's why. When you alter a plant, it alters its ability to naturalize, as Keith was talking about. But it also can, vary how attractive it is to a pollinator. So a straight species would be Achillea millefolium, which is just common yarrow, it's the white yarrow. And a cultivar would be Achillea millefolium paprika, okay? And I find that Achillea millefolium straight species is very robust. Rhizomatous plant, and the cultivars that are different colors are much less robust. And not always. Coriaceous verticillata, I think that some of the cultivars are more robust. But it's not always possible to generalize whether a cultivar is going to be more attractive or less attractive. And that's why the ongoing research at Mount Cuba, and Penn State, University of Vermont is really important. For example, the Symphenotrichum oblogifolio October sky, the aromatic aster, purple, prolific. It was more attractive to pollinators that had more diversity and more numbers of pollinators going to it than the straight species. So again, it's not predictable all the time. So before you make a choice, go to Mount Cuba. They have excellent reports online on asters, on Monarda. You can go and just do your research before you buy. The more hybridized, the less genetic diversity, the less resiliency. That's Annie White's dissertation up in the University of Vermont. So consider, consult a reputable source, Penn State, University of Vermont, Mount Cuba, Drug Academy, on cultivars. And you don't want to change the leaf color usually. The leaf color makes it a whole lot less attractive or not attractive at all. So here's another comparison. Monarda fistulosa, that's a straight species. Pale lavender, and Monarda fistulosa Claire Grace, which is bred for resistance to powdery mildew. They're equally attractive to pollinators. We don't know everything that's going on there. Okay, so I have a lot of Monarda fistulosa, and I don't have the cultivars in my yard. And sometimes cultivars may be sterile. So again, if you want to be safe, stick with a straight species. So native cultivars or nativars, this is just a comparison. I'm pretty sure most of you know all this. If you're doing restoration, not just container gardening, stick with straight species for sure. And also bloom times coordinate with the insect's emergence. So it's very, very complex. Nativars may have a disease resistance, that may be an advantage. They're definitely more profitable. And a lot of times they're patented, and sometimes they don't produce viable seed. And so you need to buy more. And so it drives certainly the nursery economy, but they like genetic diversity. They may be less adaptive to local conditions, and they're probably less valuable to wildlife. Again, there's a lot of unknowns. Here's a little more reading for your bedtime reading on nativars, and a nativar just has some difference from the native species, that it usually occurs spontaneously in nature. Okay, now we're in container gardens. So these are the best practices for any container garden. Okay, right plant, right place. Not a surprise. Put it, sun exposure, moisture, microclimates. Think about that, more on that later. Clean your container well, make sure that it doesn't have disease in it to start with. You can use steel wool or a wire brush. Make sure it has nice drainage holes. So I'm always shopping for new pots. And every time I find one and it doesn't have any holes at all, the prettiest ones don't have any holes. And I'm not that good with the drill. So, choose a container based on the plant needs. I have rocks in one area of my yard and it is darn hot in the summer. So I don't want to put a black pot there most likely unless I'm gonna put like, like sedum. Even sedum tornadum is not gonna do well there. Okay, you gotta believe me on this. Don't use rocks at the bottom of the pot. More on this in a few minutes. Or diapers, or packing peanuts, or anything at the bottom of the pot. Again, more on this later. You're just gonna have to believe me on this. Container gardens have a finite amount of nutrients. In your yard, the roots can go out and get whatever they need if it's not too compacted. But a container uses it up, so you're gonna have to add some fertilizer, most likely. And I would, use an organic. I use like a liquid organic fertilizer, ditch fertilizer, and probably not Miracle Grow. Okay, you're talking with native plants here. Bring forest containers in for the winter, if you get around to it. Minor still out. Water the soil, not the plant. Okay, this is true for anything. Water and keeping the leaves dry, water at the soil level. So you're not promoting disease. If the leaves stay wet, and we know how summers are, right? It's very humid, a lot of moisture in the air, and those leaves don't need any additional moisture to promote disease. Not advancing. Okay, let's talk about soil. Can you advance the I'm gonna have you. Okay. So these are native plants, you can use native soil. Okay, the problem with native soil around here is it's clay, and so it doesn't have the friability or the ability to drain water quickly enough. So that's not gonna do it, for your container to have just exclusively that. And, the quality definitely varies. It can contain insects or weed seeds, so you want to look at it carefully. But native plants are really sturdy and they can handle most things like that. Avoid peat; it's non-renewable. It takes what? How many years? The bog, yeah, it's not a renewable resource. So make sure that soil that you select is well drained. That's the key. Good soil is about 50% air, and because your plants that you put in, they're dependent on this soil. It has to be good soil because they have a limited amount to draw from. You want light and fluffy for good root growth, good aeration. Roots need air. A lot of soilless mixtures are hydrophobic. So you pour water, and that's a good test. I bought some potting soils that I poured water on and it rolls right off. Or it might even have like a petroleum sheen on it. So there's a lot of variation on how good potting soils are. The garden professors, which I'll quote several times, controversial group, University of Washington Extension, very opinionated, but sticklers for research-based information, a little brave. But they have good stuff too. So the garden professors have a really good article, Container Gardening Intuition versus Reality. If you want to just Google, all you have to do is Google garden professors and any topic you want to see if they have something. Again, but the discussion on Facebook can get a little heated. So this is peat, 10 years for 1 centimeter of peat. It's made out of mostly sphagnum moss. It's found in waterlogged soils. We want to stop using it, but it's really hard to find a product that's decent that doesn't use peat. So there's still a lot, I've had discussions with garden centers multiple times. Even the ones that garden centers that use treatment. So we don't want to use peat. So what are we gonna do instead? Go ahead. Soil provides roots with nutrient, air, and water, provides for root growth, supports the plants, and is disease and pest free. Okay? So what are we gonna use instead? There's lots of variety. Usually a combination, I'm not gonna give you one set recipe for this, but usually a combination of compost and soil and bark and maybe perlite or maybe some builder sand, not clay sand. You make sure it's not hydrophobic, pour water on it. A lot of times it needs to be moistened before you even plant, and then it's hard to re-moisten. So you want to watch how the water goes through it, and you want to make sure those roots are going to have that air. Okay. So most garden centers have started carrying peat-free mixes, and you know, you can put the word on them when you go in there, hey, I'm looking for a peat-free mix. And talk to somebody who's knowledgeable. Talk to the manager, because a lot of times they've wanted to get peat-free mixes and they haven't found a good market for it yet. So you can make or buy good quality compost and experiment with your ratios. I can't give you, everything has so many variables and I can't give you a recipe for it. We want to make sure that you can start with 25% compost. A mixture that drain wells but has enough holes for air, but holds the plant. Coconut coir can be a useful alternative as one of the ingredients in that soil mix, but it can be difficult to keep hydrated. Okay, once it dries out, it can be difficult to rehydrate. Coir compost mixtures can be like 2 to 1, 3 to 1. Again, you need to use your intuitive skills to determine how fast water's draining by just watching. And there's a little bit more from North Carolina's substrate lab coming up. Okay. So these are typically found in peat-free mixes. Okay. And read the labels, smell it. See if it's hydrophobic. You don't need, you will need a fertilizer, not right away. Usually you don't need the micronutrients that are in soil. Lime is usually already in some potting soil. Volcanic rock, that's usually only useful for plants that really like lean soil. Compost can vary widely, the quality of it. Usually it contains some pathogens. So purchase, there's some locally available compost that is, you know, like Free State Farms has some. I use leaf grow in mine, but you can't use a lot, it can't be heavy. Okay, it has to be good drain, okay? Again, don't use peat. Coir can be substituted for peat. Manure, don't use that. Forest products, a lot of potting soils are made from ground up pallets. And you can tell that, and they are hydrophobic. Biosolids, like malorganite, I wouldn't use that. Bark, I wouldn't use that, it's too big, it doesn't hold the plant right. But fines and some of the more expensive bark products could be useful as part of a mixture. And my bias is not to buy fungal inoculants like mycorrhizal fungi unless the time it's not viable by the time it gets to the shelf in the store. And the garden professors have something to say about that too. So if you want to Google that. Okay, so these are some peat-free mixes that I've used. Rosy soil is kind of new. I use Happy Frog a lot, but I mix it with other things too, because native plant needs some native soil with it. So Maryland Grows, that's the University of Maryland's extension. They have a pretty good article, more than I can tell you right here, on peat-free gardening mixes, okay? Okay, this is where you have to believe me, okay? Putting rocks or anything else at the bottom of a pot creates a mismatch in the two substrates. And we think that if we put rocks in the bottom, the water will drain down and to the bottom, but it doesn't. It stays, I know, it's counterintuitive. The water, collects at the top of those rocks, right where the roots are. So it creates a perched water table, and we see this in the landscape, we see it in wetlands. So don't use anything, at the bottom. The wettest soil's at the bottom and the gravel moves it up. So again, garden professors have a lot to say about this. Believe me. I remember reading this and going, I don't think that's true. Yes,
So I put in, empty files in a large,
I know.
container that I don't want to be packaged.
I know. I talked about this with a friend of mine. I would recommend it. I know. How are we gonna lift it? I know.
Nancy, is this true for plants and vegetables, things like flowers and all of this stuff?
Yeah, I would say something. Anytime roots are in water, that's not a good.
But I mean, everything that you're talking about today.
Oh, yeah, oh,
Pretty
yeah.
true.
Did you come for vegetables?
I came for both.
Okay, I'm not doing vegetables. They're not native. Okay, go ahead. So here's some things that you can do, because we're smart, okay? We can make decisions on what's good and what a good combination of soil is, because we have so many variables. So look at the potting mix. Does it look okay? Does it smell okay? Is the particle size about right? You can do a real scientific experiment. Fill up 10 pots, tap them 3 times, hand irrigate them. Does the water flow through it? Wait, I'm not doing that. But you could, this would be a good science fair project. Use the average in comparing, okay, so, North Carolina has a substrate laboratory, soils, okay? And, I wanted to say about the perch water table, it's true when planting a tree too. This is why we don't put compost in the hole when we plant the tree, because it creates a perch water table in that thing, okay? Okay, go ahead. More on the substrate laboratory. This is pretty cool. They did, the one on the right is a peat mix. No. Yeah, is a peat mix. The one on the left is a peat-free mix. And look, I mean, adequate root structure, certainly not as much. This one looks like it's been in the pot longer. But they did a comparison with Gerbera daisies, a non-native, in a peat-free mix, and they're adequate. I mean, it showed that you can adequately use a peat-free mix, okay? So now we're gonna talk about maintaining your, so water in the morning, if you can, because that life happens, I get that. And, if it's drooping in the morning, it probably needs water. If it's drooping in the afternoon, we all droop in the afternoon. Right, in the summer. Check the soil and use your finger, okay, because we're smart. We can put our finger down in there and see if it's damp. Choose your container based on the water needs. A plant that doesn't need a lot of water, can go in a clay pot. Clay pots are very porous, so they let a lot of air go through. Water the soil, again, not the plant, and keep the leaves as dry as possible. I know it rains and the leaves get wet, but if we can eliminate some of that, we can eliminate some disease. Allow it to dry out between waterings unless you've got a cardinal flowering, okay? The more roots, the more water. So the bigger the pot, the more roots, the more water it can take in. And we know young ones need more monitoring. Okay. So aim for that sweet spot. Yes,
Yes, so are you saying that we should water in the morning
yes, because then the.
and not at night?
If you can work it in your schedule, watering in the morning allows the sun to come out, the leaves to dry. If you water at night, they stay wet all night, and then fungal issues occur more often. Okay? True for anything. So you're gonna aim for that sweet spot. Between, okay, so this looks like it's drought stressed, but it's not, it's actually, the roots are in water and it's drooping because of that. And then this one, the soil is pulling away from the sides of the clay pot. It's too fast draining, too wet, aim for the sweet spot, use your finger, use your smarts, okay? And this graphic, it talks about, here's what I want you to get from this. It gets to a wilting point, and then you go, oh my gosh, I gotta water that. And you pour the water on, and have you ever seen a plant go? Kind of shakes, it's like, oh my God, I'm getting some water. And then it gets to the permanent wilting point and it does not come back after that, okay? That's all I want you to get from that slide, okay? Fertilizers, remember, you got a closed system here, okay? I don't think dry is useful for native plant containers. It's a lawn and garden product. The slow release, it takes a lot of water to get those to release, because it's got a hard coating on the outside. I would recommend using a water soluble, like a liquid. There's really good organic liquid fertilizers, but plant tone is an organic too, and if you water it in enough, it's adequate. So follow the directions, but you know what? We got native plants here, they're probably not gonna need much, just occasional fertilization. Look at the plants. They'll tell you when they need it, okay? And then move them to the garden next year, where they'll be really happy. Okay, so size, the bigger, the better root growth, okay? But there are limitations to what we can lift. So a larger root zone can gather more water and nutrients. You could pot them up in a small one, but don't keep moving them, okay? Again, the garden professors, you can also Google garden myths. They're the same group. Okay, go ahead. So types of containers, sky's the limit. But this is what I got last year after my surgery. I got bags all over my patio. And I've always wanted one of those troughs, maybe this year. Okay, go ahead. Ceramic, clay, plastic, there's varying advantages to. So the clay and the ceramic, they're much more permeable and it dries out faster. So, in the summers, you might have to water twice a day on our really blazing hot days, okay? Let's hear some just a creative ideas. Again, the sky's the limit. It's really fun. I got these back. The drain tiles, I went to this junkyard and there were all these clay drain tiles and I sunk them in the ground and they're just like a clay pot, but yet they're open at the bottom so the root can go out. And it has been really fun. I saw that in Blacksburg. Anyway.
Did you let them have a finger in here?
I do.
Okay.
They're so thick though.
Okay.
They're what they used to drain the farmers' fields with.
Yeah.
Anyway, sometimes you can find them in antique stores.
But if you let the plants over.
Yeah,
Okay.
and in fact, I put a bunch of seeds in one of them this year where I moved the plants out into my landscape because they were getting too big.
Did you get enough to eat? Did you get enough to eat?
Did they get enough to eat? Is that for me?
Yeah.
Yes, they do. The native allium, have you seen that? The nodding onion, have you seen that? I put that in one of them and then it was so cute. Okay. So placement, beware of microclimates, watch the sun angle and for reflected heat, if you've got pavement, okay. Remove the plant from its container, loosen the roots, make sure there's no slimy, cut that off. Cut any circling roots, because, plants that you buy now probably have been in the pot since last year. Okay?
Do you do root wash on these?
Yeah, I just loosen them. So a little bit about design, okay? Okay, click. This is the old design technique for containers, but don't feel like you have to do it this way, okay? Okay? Thrill, the one that thrills and catches your attention, okay? Fill, it fills up the pot, and the next one is filled over the side. But do not be wedded to this. We do not have to do container pots like this, okay? So now we're gonna look at some plants, and I have worked very hard to put plants together that bloom about the same time, that have different attributes. So we can do analogous by having the hot colors, and here we have Pacra and Ecologically and Zizia, and those three bloom about the same time. I'm not promising, but they would make a lovely native container. And I think this is the hardest part about doing a native plant container. Fine, and so I've done it for you, okay? But the sky's the limit. There's lots of other options, okay? Or you can do the cool analogous colors. Penstemon digitalis, Iris cristata, Dicentra, the native bleeding heart, geranium, that would make lovely for part sun, okay? Remember your complementary colors, that makes for drama, okay? Here's Syncytium and Zizia together. I know, it's one of my favorites, okay? And then Lilium superbum, and then move it to landscape, okay, that's not want to be in the pot forever. And with Carex filling the pot, I think that would make a beautiful combination, okay? So when you see this, it means it requires moisture. This one, when you see this, it requires partial sun, full sun, and this one's partial sun. So I put the little symbol in the top of the slide, all right? And this one for shade. Okay, so here we go with the seasons. Full sun in the spring. Okay, keep clicking through these. Achillea. And there's the flower, and then Syncytium, the blue-eyed grass, and then Zizia together. I think that's a really, really nice little combination. Very simple, okay? Okay, keep clicking. Ecologically, Iris cristata, and the Carex fill the pot. Simple, simple, simple. Okay? Pacra, Penstemon, and there's the Pacra buds. I mean, aren't they cool? And then the Penstemon, and that is a cultivar picture. And then the native strawberry. Okay? Phlox, Divaricata, this is for partial sun. The native bleeding heart, Iris cristata, Tiarella cordifolia, Penstemon digitalis. This would be a big pot. And Geranium maculatum, but I love that together. Okay, I need to do some more of these. Okay, Tiarella, and then the Achillea, and then the Phlox, Divaricata. Simple, simple, simple. I'm not promising they're all bloom at the same time. Partial to full sun, early summer now. That Ecologically is coming back because it has reseeded itself. Spigelia, really cool plant together. And then the Coreopsis verticillata with some Carex to fill in that pot. Is this making you excited?
Yeah.
Okay, this is an annual partridge pea, Rudbeckia, and then that butterfly weed is Clepeus tuberosa. Really fun. So now we're in midsummer, and that's when there's a dearth, right? It really slows down. Okay, so let's go. Liatris and Rudbeckia. So simple. Okay. This is a nice combination that will persist into fall because it's got the Rudbeckia and then the Achillea and then the sneezeweed, the Millennium, and then that Panicum, and that is a cultivar, Shenandoah, the burgundy leaves. Okay. And Helianthus, this is Thomas Rainier's design. I can't take credit for this. He told me I could use this picture, but I love how these two fit together. This is a low down, so it's not changed except for height. But you know how Muhlenbergia, it gets a little funky looking before and after it blooms. It doesn't look really great. So look at, you put this in the middle of it and you don't notice it quite as much. Thomas Rainier, designer. Okay. Here's another combination for full sun, Muhlenbergia, Achille, can you tell me what Achille? And Rebecca, okay. And, oh, look at this hot colors. That would be fun. And this is unpredictable. The Asclepias tuberosa doesn't always bloom when I think it's gonna bloom. Okay? Coreopsis verticillata and the beautyberry, you can put, you know, a shrub in there too. And then I love that, excuse me, I love that carex. It's a seersucker sedge. I love it. It's kind of ruffled. Okay? And here's, Ceonanthus americanus, I forget it. What is it?
T-bear.
Tea-berry? No.
Jersey too?
No, George. Yeah, tea-berry would be fine. I'll pick that. And then these three together. Okay. And into early fall. The sneezeweed, the goldenrod, the well-behaved goldenrod, normalis, and the asters. Wow. My favorite combinations, okay? And look at this, Atia in a pot. I mean, it does not want to be in a pot forever. But for right now, it could be really pretty, okay? Pygnanthemum, and the Liatris and the Verona castrum together. If you're not familiar with Verona castrum, get it. I love them. They're little valley mixes. Okay. Here's another one for fall, Muhlenbergia. And in a pot, it's gonna look pretty good. Okay? Pygnanthemum nucata, Uticum, and the New England aster. Okay. Let's go through this quickly. Just, maidenhair fern and the packard together, this one needs to be spring, sorry.
Well, it looks pretty.
Let's just enjoy these. Furfura, carex, Sodgemum, and then the Solomon seal and the fern. I think this would be a nice combination of Impatiens capensis, which is jewelweed, and the ostrich fern, which is, I have a lot of ostrich ferns. If anyone needs them. Okay, keep going. So
Require some shade.
that one doesn't. I mean, it does, some, but not much. So I think this would be beautiful in a pot. Now, I recommended this for McCord. Did they do it? Okay, go. Okay, this is what I did for a client in Fairfax Station. And I love the way the sun's hitting it. This is not the native aruncus, but a native aruncus would work in this. I love just how the sun, and it's all green. But you know what? It's very pleasant and soothing for me to look at. And this is, ISO plants, put this online. And I thought that was kind of an interesting combination, okay? I'm gonna try this summer, because I got a bunch of Elemis seeds, and that's a warm season grass that grows in the shade, and put it with the wild basil and the Monarda punctata. That's an idea from North Carolina Extension, okay? And the blues. This is Aerogrostis would make a beautiful one with, this would have to keep very wet, because turtle head really likes a lot of moisture, but Aerogrostis would benefit from that too, and Aerogrostis has a lot of roots to take it up. Okay. Sedum ternatum, the native sedum that grows in the shade, plus a moss, plus a carex, that would be simple in the shade. Now you can do vines with some kind of trellis. And we know everybody has this one, right? The native, thank you, honeysuckle. I knew I was gonna have a word finding problem. So ideas for trellises. Always looking at these for my clients, you know, some kind of different trellis. I love this metal one that's rusty. Okay. So just we'll go through these really quick. So you could do single species too. It doesn't have to be fancy. Okay. Fuzzy pink beans. Anybody have one of those? I have them growing all over and I'm gonna move some to a pot and it's a climber. And it's a native, native vine. It's hard to find a native small vine. Not, and this is the one I put in the clay things, nodding. I mean, what a that's my picture. What a gorgeous plant. I mean, I just love to just watch it, okay? Oh, these are ones I've started this year. They take a lot of water, so I'm not sure I'm gonna be successful, but I started the seeds and. Witch hazel would be pretty in a pot, but it doesn't wanna be there long term. I just feel sad that I put it in the pot forever.
Is it easy to find?
Witch hazel? Yeah, yeah, I mean, look at Plant Nova Natives, they list native nurseries, and then you go to the native nursery and you can look at their inventory.
I got some in southern states.
Oh, and they're doing better.
Yeah, they're doing
They're-
a lot better.
Their manager
Not
called me.
not selling as much English.
Thank God. Okay. I think this would be a beautiful thing in a pot. Joe, pick the Asian one, pick the Native American beauty berry, okay? And then maybe move it in the landscape. I feel sorry for shrubs that are, yucca. Yucca is the native plant that looks like it's tropical. I think it would be, and it's pollinated by moths, very interesting, flowers, okay? And I love this, so everybody been to Mosaic, you know, that shopping center? They have this as kind of a wall against one of the stores, and this is horsetail. It needs water, so I've always wanted to have a porch that I like to make a little curtain, you know, in my retirement years. Atia would be good. I recommended that from our court too. Okay. What is it? Oh. Buttonbush. Buttonbush would make a beautiful pot, needs a lot of water, needs, you know, partial sun. Oh, okay. So plant for staggered blooms, or you can plant for blooming all at once. Here's a list. You might want to take a picture of this one. These are ones that you can kind of stagger the blooms on and get more of a continuum rather than a, you know, a single pal of color. Remember, this is being recorded too, okay?
And we will attach this.
Yeah, you will have access to it. Okay. Here's some more staggered blooms for spring, early spring, summer to fall. Okay. And for winter interest, I have a friend who is really good at this. The red big dog with the hazelnut has interesting catkins on it. Okay. Alex verticillata is a possibility. Again, it likes a lot of wet. Okay, it wants to be in the landscape eventually. Okay. So know that you can get your patio certified. One of our master gardeners was living in a apartment for years, and she got her little balcony certified. She had like plenty of different diversity of visitors, animal visitors. So you can go to the wildlife sanctuary, and master gardeners do those visits in Prince County. And Fauquier County has one, Fairfax County has one. Okay. And these are some of the sanctuary species that you can attract with, maybe not all of them will contain. But ask Dawn if you need to know about Audubon, she's the expert, okay? And Humber National Park, I don't need to tell you more about that. That's the Calami's program. You can join the map. Okay. Oh, and he has container gardening ideas on his site. And this is from his site. That Calami's. All right. And here's some resources. First Naga has a wonderful native plant compendium that you can look up for different conditions. Matt Bright has done a spectacular job with that. Okay?
Can we go back?
Oh, go back.
Thank you.
Sure.
It was gonna be.
Yeah, but, and do we look at these pictures? Some of them never look.
No.
I didn't honestly. Okay, next. And then we're open for some questions. That was a lot.
So what was your greatest success? And what did you,
My greatest success?
in your?
Well, you know, last year was such
A weird year.
I really love the nodding onion because I just put it there and it just looks so cute. And all the bees came to it, particularly bumblebees and carpenter bees and.
Did you put that anywhere else or just in that?
No, it's all over my. Yeah, I love it. It's just so cute. Yes.
So what about like pinching back or keeping cutting it, just let it go?
I would,
And then put it in the garden?
yeah, I would scout it too. If you see some disease on there, I would just take the scissors and cut the disease leaf off and throw it away. No.
In addition to being able to rewatch the video, would there be a way to get just a copy of the slide deck?
I have business cards over here. You can pick up a business card and you can email me and, I can send PDF. It's not there. What am I doing? No, somebody has, a door prize sticker under the chair, Terry.
Yeah.
You didn't put it on your chair, did you? Okay, so it's a native plant container. And it looks a little sad right now. You know, spring is coming, so it's got Zizia, and the Zizia is blooming. Achillea, and it's got blue-eyed grass, and it's got a bee. And it has holes in the bottom, I drilled the hole. You got it?
Yeah.
No, this one.
Well, you got it in there.
You got it.
She got
So.
it. You found
I gave it some water. So, okay, so how much sun does this need? It's Achillea, Zizia, and blue-eyed grass, the Zizia.
Full sun.
Full sun, yeah. Up, full apart. But you know what? It's a little sun now, but look at the Zizia is even blooming. What the heck? And it will look nicer, I promise, but I'm not gonna promise that they all bloom at the same time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, on your one slide, you said not to use manure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I understand directly, but manure that's been composted.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
It's heavy, okay? So you want it to be kind of light and fluffy, and that's why you don't want to use a lot of, really compost. I use a little bit of leaf grow in mine, so I don't have to fertilize so often. I wish I could give you a recipe for soil, but there's so many variables, so we just have to. So that's why, and I wouldn't use manure at all in a container.
There's some, considerations for like a shady north facing, place. I'm thinking like maybe the native American ferns and moss.
It's Solomon seal,
And
forest. Forestage,
well, there's a maple, a red maple tree, and then like 3 stories of behind the townhouse north, so it's shady to keep.
even woodland plants. There aren't a lot of woodland plants that can handle complete shade like that. I mean, the spring ephemerals, they're all popping out before the trees leaf out. And so, I think I would put the pot somewhere else. I mean, really, it's hard to find things that will bloom in the shade.
Yeah.
I have a client now that I'm trying to work with, just try to figure out something that will grow in dry shade, to make her happy. It's challenging anyway, but if you have a choice, don't put it there. I mean, moss is fine. If you want to do moss and ferns, I would give it a try. Christmas ferns, it's hard to beat a Christmas fern. And maybe your ferns are gorgeous. But they're deciduous too, you know, a Christmas fern will stay green all the time. I can't solve your problem.
And folks want to-
Never worked. Anybody else? Thank you so much for coming.